Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Surabhi Sharma. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Wednesday, the 21st of August. Relief operations continue in India's flood-affected areas. US President Trump once again offers to mediate on Kashmir issue. And 5th Nepal-India Joint Commission meeting kicks off in Kathmandu. And now for all the details. Rescue and relief operations continued on Wednesday across flood-affected provinces in northern India. In a tragic incident, a chopper carrying relief material crashed in flood-hit Uttarakhand province, killing at least 3 people on board.
Rescue and relief operations continued on Wednesday across several areas in flood-affected provinces in northern India. 3 cheetah helicopters were providing food and drinking water to 18 flood-affected villages in Jalandhar district of India's northern Punjab province. The villages were inundated over the weekend because of breaches in earthen dams of the Satluj River. No fresh spell of rainfall was, however, reported since Monday. Meanwhile, continuous rise in water levels of river Ganges in Varanasi in northern Uttar Pradesh province posed a threat of floods in the low-lying areas of the holy city. Normal life was affected as the homes of people residing on the river's banks were inundated.
भैया पानी तो एकदम बढ़ते ही जा रहा है तब देख रहे हैं सामान पूरा हटा रहे हैं बढ़ा रहे हैं सब कुछ बहुत दिक्कत है.
In Uttarkashi district of India's northern Uttarakhand province, the relief operations were affected after a helicopter carrying relief material crashed on Wednesday, killing all the 3 people on board. More than a dozen people have died in flood and rain-related incidents in Uttarakhand in the past week. A cloudburst also wreaked havoc in Uttarkashi last week.
US President Donald Trump has once again proposed to mediate between India and Pakistan on the Kashmir issue. The latest proposal by Trump to mediate comes a day after he spoke to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan. India has repeatedly told the international community, including the US, that Kashmir is an internal matter. US President Donald Trump has once again proposed to mediate between India and Pakistan on the Kashmir issue. Speaking to reporters at the White House, Trump said that he would bring up the Kashmir issue when he meets Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G7 summit in France later this week. The latest proposal by Trump to mediate comes a day after he spoke to both Prime Minister Modi and Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan. Calling Kashmir a complicated situation, Trump said that it has a lot to do with religion.
It's been going on for a long period of time, but I get along really well with both of them. As you know, Prime Minister Khan was here just recently, and I'm going to be with Prime Minister Modi. I'll be with him over the weekend in France. So, I think we're helping the situation, but there's tremendous problems between those 2 countries, as you know, and I will do the best I can to mediate or do something.
India has repeatedly told the international community, including the US, that Kashmir is an internal matter. Tensions have simmered between India and Pakistan following India's decision of revoking Article 370 that guaranteed special status to Jammu and Kashmir and bifurcating it into 2 union territories. US Special Envoy for Peace Zalmay Khalilzad resumed his trip to Qatar and Afghanistan. The trip is aimed at resuming talks with the Taliban as part of an overall effort to facilitate a peace process to end conflict in war-torn Afghanistan.
U.S. Special Representative for Afghanistan Reconciliation Zalmay Khalilzad resumed his trip to Qatar and Afghanistan, the U.S. Department of State said in a statement on Tuesday. Khalilzad will resume talks with the Taliban as part of overall effort to facilitate a peace process that ends the conflict in Afghanistan. The statement added that in Kabul, Khalilzad will consult with the leadership of the Afghan government on the peace process and encourage full preparation for intra-Afghan negotiations. Khalilzad last week bolstered optimism for a peace agreement when he concluded the 8th round of negotiations with the Taliban, saying in a tweet he hoped this will be the final year that the country was at war. The US and the Taliban representatives have been negotiating since October 12 last year to strike a peace deal and to end the 18-year-old long war in the country. Both sides hope to finalize a peace deal in coming days.
India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met Nepal's Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli in capital Kathmandu on Wednesday and held in-depth talks. Jaishankar later attended the 5th meeting of the Nepal-India Joint Commission aimed at bolstering bilateral ties. The meeting is being held after a 3-year gap.
India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met Nepal's Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli on Wednesday in capital Kathmandu. Both the leaders held warm and in-depth conversation, Jaishankar tweeted after his meeting with Oli. The Indian Foreign Minister later attended the 5th meeting of the Nepal-India Joint Commission that is being held after a 3-year gap. Jaishankar and his Nepali counterpart Pradeep Gyavli co-chaired the meeting. The 2-day meeting will focus on bilateral relations, trade and transit, economic cooperation, energy, water resources, culture and education, and other issues of mutual interest. Established in 1987, the Nepal-India Joint Commission holds its meetings alternatively in Nepal and India. Jaishankar arrived in Kathmandu for the first time after being appointed as India's Foreign Minister this year. He flew in from Dhaka after a 2-day visit to Bangladesh and is expected to meet Nepali President Bidya Devi Bhandari on Thursday.
More on news from Nepal. Nepal's Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli on Tuesday conducted his first meeting with all major political parties since he assumed office last year. He urged all parties to defend and strengthen the Federal Democratic Republic system in the country. Nepalese Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli has urged all parties to defend and strengthen the Federal Democratic Republic system of governance and the constitution in the country. In his first meeting with all major political parties represented in the parliament since he assumed office in February last year, Oli on Tuesday said attempts were being made by several quarters to threaten the existing system. The Premier further asked parties to move ahead united to ensure perennial peace and not allow violence in the country again. Leader of opposition and Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Deoba and other political leaders at the meeting also pledged to back the Oli-led government on federalism, republicanism, democracy and the constitution. Nepal's first federal government led by Prime Minister Oli was formed on February 15, 2018. And since then, the government had been pressured to agree over different conditions by other political parties, including amending the constitution. In news from Sri Lanka, the international community expressed concern after Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva was appointed as the country's army chief on Monday. Responding to the concerns, the government called the appointment a sovereign decision.
Sri Lanka on Monday named 55-year-old Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva as the country's new army chief. Soon after the appointment of Silva as the new army commander, the international community including United States and the United Nations expressed concern as he has been accused by the United Nations of being involved in human rights abuses during the country's 26-year-old long civil war. Responding to the international as well as local concern mounted over Silva's appointment, the Sri Lankan government said that the appointment of the army commander is a sovereign decision by the head of the state. The Foreign Affairs Ministry in a statement said the comments that have appeared since Silva's appointment as the 23rd commander of Sri Lankan army by President Maithripala Sirisena are unwarranted and unacceptable. Silva is credited with successfully leading an army division against dissident Tamil Tigers in the final phases of the war.
The IT sector is evolving in India's Jammu and Kashmir while generating employment opportunities for the local youth of the region. Hundreds of talented youths are currently exploring the job-oriented sector to earn their livelihood. As information technology sector is evolving in India's Jammu and Kashmir, more educated youth in the region are shifting in this job-oriented field. Government authorities have been encouraging the business process outsourcing or BPOs and call centres in the region, which in turn will boost the sector and create more jobs for the Kashmiri youth. Local youths have also been interacting with the authorities to discuss the challenges they face and have requested further assistance in boosting the field.
जैसे पहले कहा कि बहुत ज़्यादा यहाँ पोटेंशियल भी है और बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हमारे पास यहाँ अवेलेबल है, सिर्फ उसको टैप करने की ज़रूरत है।
यहाँ पे बहुत सारे इम्प्रूवमेंट हो रहा है आईटी सेक्शन से, तो यहाँ पे बहुत सारे मतलब ऐसे अभी भी एम्प्लॉय हैं जो जॉब करना चाहते हैं, जो आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। इससे तो काफ़ी इम्प्रूवमेंट आई है हमारे कश्मीर में।
The IT sector is playing a vital role in generating employment, and hundreds of talented youths are currently exploring this sector, which helps them earn their livelihood. After the Indian government revoked the special status of Jammu and Kashmir earlier this month, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged the private sector to promote and expand the use of technology in Jammu and Kashmir. He urged the youth to take charge of the development of their area. A huge crowd gathered to witness a 3-day Hindu dance festival at a temple in India's Guwahati city. It is believed that taking part in the festival bestows the dancers with powers from the temple goddess as she possesses their bodies.
Devotees from across the country thronged the temple of Hindu goddess Kamakhya in Guwahati in India's northeastern Assam province to witness the 3-day Hindu dance festival Deodhani on Tuesday. A huge crowd was seen on the last day in the spectators' stand as devotees danced in a trance as traditional musical instruments were played along. It is believed that taking part in this festival bestows the dancers with powers from the goddess as she possesses the bodies of the dancers. During the annual festival, goats and pigeons are also sacrificed, and it is considered auspicious to dance holding the sacrificial sword.
वो जो लोग वहाँ पर वो देवधनी नाच करते हैं उसके ऊपर भगवान खुद आ जाता है, तो ये स्पेशल वन यहाँ का, यानी वो देवी जो भी हो हर कोई देवी एक के शरीर में आ जाता है, वो वही यहाँ के माने उसी ताकत से यहाँ डांस करता है।
काफ़ी लोग आज उपस्थित हुए हैं। ये देवधनी में एक महत्वपूर्ण एक पुराना 500 वर्ष के पुराने कामाख्या मंदिर जब से हुआ उस दिन से देवधनी आरंभ हुआ।
The devotees participating in the dance festival go through a month-long preparatory phase, during which they are not permitted to meet their families and have to stay in the temple premises with a photograph of the deity they want to represent.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Relief operations continue in India's flood-affected areas. US President Trump once again offers to mediate on Kashmir issue. And 5th Nepal-India Joint Commission meeting kicks off in Kathmandu. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.